Welcome to GVGCast episode 104. My name is Brandon Miracle. I'm joined today by our lovely GVG partners, Ash Paulson,
Hello, 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 hello.
and our good old art director, graphic designer, just incredible headband man himself, Daniel Alba.
Hello, everyone. So good to see you tonight. How you doing?
It's been a pretty crazy week, I think, in terms of stuff that's been going on in the gaming space. Certain releases that have come out
Oh
this
yeah.
week as well. Um, but before we get into the games, guys, just how are you doing? Ash, what's going on with you, man?
I'm all right. I'm glad to be here. I originally was not going to be on the show because I woke up this morning randomly feeling like someone had taken a blowtorch to my throat. I feel fine. I don't think I'm sick, but it was just one of those things where I guess my throat was super dry. And over the day, it got progressively better. Still hurts a little now, but like nowhere close to what it was like this morning. So I was like, no, 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 I could make it. Maybe not host worthy today, but I definitely was like, no, I can. I'm good enough for the show, so I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, we're glad you're in good shape. You certainly sound better than I was expecting.
Yeah, no, I like I said, it's definitely still there, and I can kind of feel it still, maybe a little swollen, but it's not nearly like it was this morning. And I definitely would not have been show worthy if it had stayed like that. So I'm thinking it was just one of those things where my throat got really dry or something overnight, and just progressively got a little better throughout the day as I had some water and some food and stuff.
Well, we're glad you're here. Dry is
Yeah.
certainly not the story here where I live. I was telling you guys right before we got started that there's some crazy storms happening where I live, and my power was flickering pretty consistently. And I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna get to be here or not. But thankfully, the storms have kind of settled down. Still storming, but I'm no longer in imminent danger. So here I am.
Send some over here,
Thank
man. We need
goodness.
some more rain in LA.
You can have it. Uh, what's going on in the world of Daniel Alba?
Ooh, I wasn't here last week because I was visiting Super Nintendo World.
I'm so
Well,
jealous.
specifically, I wanted to wait to go with at least some of the crew here at GVG, but my mom and I, she hadn't been at Universal Studios, and neither have I. We haven't been there together in like 20 years or so, long time. And
Wow.
so it was kind of a Mother's Day thing where we both went out there. We were seeing how much has changed, and it's a lot. A lot of stuff has changed there in 20 years. Technology has hit Hollywood, and obviously one of the big things that changed is that Super Nintendo World is there. So I kind of dragged her around there for a bit. I got I got a lot of stuff from there. I saved strategically because I knew I was gonna be pretty much uncontrollable at the multiple shops that there are. Multiple shops that have different items at certain different items at different ones. So I was like, oh god, here it comes. And yeah, that was pretty much last week. That's why I wasn't here during that time. And this week was uh there's been some fun things happening this week, some fun releases, some games we haven't talked about together, Brandon. One of the ones was obviously I was streaming Paper Mario yesterday. I streamed it for a little more than 4 hours, and I voiced everybody, and my throat was hurting in the morning.
Oh, fun. That sounds so fun. I would
my
love to do that.
I was really wishing that it was like I wish Brandon was here to tag team the voices with me because boy I was hurting doing everybody.
I
Yeah,
I will try to join you for the next one, man. So you're not doing it all by yourself.
Yeah, I want.
I was
Oh,
thinking that while playing it over the last day or so, that it was like, man, this is taking me back to our Fire Emblem 7 streams.
Fire Emblem 7 and Mario Luigi streams as well. That was a lot of fun to just voice everybody in that. And I got some good ones, I think. But man, there's some that I was just like, I gotta really go deep for some of these characters.
Oh man, I wanna I,
But
I wanna join you for the next one if I can. That sounds like a blast.
Speaking of
all y'all should join. I just finished chapter one. I got through the whole bit of chapter one, so we could do chapter two
Nice.
together if we wanted.
That would be super fun. We've talked about this and we can never get everyone together because of all the different time zones, but I still want to do that like table read dub of the murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. I want to do it so bad.
I brought
So
that
bad.
I brought that up once, and then we were like, when because that requires us to have John with us as well.
Yes,
That's what
John
we.
absolutely has to be part of that. Yeah.
So at some point, we'll definitely try and figure that out at some point for all y'all. That'll be fun. Maybe you can make that as part of a. We haven't brought it up specifically, but we do want to push this channel to partner one way or another, and we might do a set of certain streams in a month that we designate to just push towards that goal. And this could definitely be something that we do for that, but that's definitely a discussion that we'll have at a meeting at some point. But that's been out there in the universe, and we're thinking about it. So we do want this channel to be on partner. I do. For so long we've been affiliate. Uh,
No, seriously.
Before we dive into the wonderful world of Paper Mario, there's another game that has been occupying my mind space, and I haven't been here to talk about it. Um, Animal Well's really good.
Oh yeah, you've been really getting into Animal Well. We've been talking about it.
Animal
um,
Well is one of the most surprising games I've played in quite a long time. Right up there with Tunic, Outer Wilds, Return of the Oberdin. It's very much in that genre. It's as brand as it's as Brandon core as you can get.
I'm so glad for you for that because I don't know what it is. I just kind of bounced off it. I don't know. I can recognize that it's great. Like absolutely, I can see why you love it so much. But I played it for a couple hours and I was like, I think I'm good. It kind of feels like the game I'd rather watch somebody play than play myself for some reason. I don't know why, but I definitely recognize its brilliance. It's just not for me for some reason. Kind of like Hollow Knight.
did you play Tunic as well, by any chance?
I played a couple of hours of Tunic, and same thing. I think I beat the first major boss or mini boss or major boss, and again, I just kind of felt like I'd had enough. I didn't really feel the need to go back, even though I was enjoying myself enough. I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to keep going. I don't know. Maybe it's
Because
just a me thing.
I feel like I remember I brought this up to Brandon after I had gotten a fair amount of the way through Animal Well, was that this is a game that it doesn't explain anything to you. Like
Hmm.
you're kind of thrust into this world and you're exploring it in all of its ambiance, and it doesn't explain anything to you. You just kind of have to feel it out and discover things and form the story as it does. And I think it benefits because of that. Like it's stronger because it doesn't explain these sort of things. It's kind of like those games way back then where you're thrust into The Legend of Zelda on the NES. You're not told what to do, but you just kind of go around everywhere and you do everything that you can. And when you find that one thing that's different or you find a new item, you're just like, oh, the euphoria you
Yeah,
feel of finding that and that discovery. And there's so much of that discovery in Animal Well. Um, and just the overall like the vibes of it, the feel of it, the mood, the lighting, the way that I love that it just starts with the scan lines. You can remove the scan lines, but if it weirdly like loses
right.
something because of that, like I keep them on because like that was their original intention. And yeah, you're just this little blob exploring this world, and boy, as Brandon was saying, like it is really the more you play it, the more you get like deeper into the well, so to speak. And it just kind of
Good
like
analogy.
it pulls you right in as you keep going through, because I'm just like, what is going on here? I want to know and learn more, because there is a bit of a story like behind it if you can kind of like parse it together piece by piece, and there's a lot to discover. There are layers to discover even after I quote unquote beat the game to discover in Animal Well. And Brandon knows this goes deep.
Yeah,
The
because
well does go deep.
you can beat it in like a few hours, but then there's like a whole bunch of stuff that opens up after the credits roll, right? It's like, and then you can just invest a ton of time into this,
Hmm.
peeling back layer after layer. Is that right?
A game like Animal Well gives back as much as you give to it.
Sure. Okay.
And that experience can last for quite some time.
Hmm.
It's hard to talk about without giving away too much, but
Right.
that game
Right.
just goes. The same can be said for Tunic. I think with games like Tunic and Animal Well, Ash, you may have not gotten far enough in to experience the hook.
Maybe that could
Like
be. Yeah, because
those
it
games
did.
do not show their hand to you until you get deep enough.
I might need to go back and spend a little more time. I'm gonna try to do that as well with also Penny's Big Breakaway because I that was such a game that I was so looking forward to, and then I kind of bounced off it unexpectedly. But then I watched John Lindemann's review of it on Digital Foundry, and he and I have very similar tastes, and like he described it as everything I normally love about a game like that. So I feel like maybe I don't know what. Maybe I wasn't in the right headspace, but I feel like I need to give Penny's Big Breakaway another shot. And I know John loves it, but you did also bounce off of it, right, Brandon?
I played like the first world or two,
Hmm.
um, and it really just wasn't doing it for me. I have
Yeah.
to admit
Mm,
the the game the game flow does not feel the way I expect it to. I guess
Hmm.
like
Sure.
stringing together moves doesn't feel like it's quite as polished as it should be. That could also just be me not performing well enough at the game or playing at a level that the game is asking me to. Um, Daniel, have you played Penny? I'm curious.
I've not played very much of it at all. Like, that's not one I can comment too much on myself. But I remember hearing a lot about it. Like, this seemed like something that I probably should at least give a shot at some points. It's got like a really what's it like, the mechanics, you can exploit it to like the nth degree and really like push
Hmm.
Penny's movement and whatnot to like the limit in this game. And that, I know that's something that John really likes in like Sonic Adventure, for example, just using the spin dash and just breaking the stages
Oh
like that.
yeah.
That seems like a very, that's why I felt like that was a game that John was definitely going to vibe with.
Oh, for sure. That that makes a lot of sense, and I love the aesthetics. Very Sonic esque, pop art vibey aesthetics. The music is at least partially composed by T. Lopes, and I've loved what I've heard so far. But yeah, I just feel like I bounced off it unexpectedly. But I want to give that another shot, and I'll need to go back to Animal Well and Tunic as well. Although I did just learn of the existence of an indie game that I pretty much want to pick up next. That I didn't even know it was coming, and it's out now on PS5, and that's Bit Trip Rerunner. And you guys know I've been a fan of this series for quite a while. Runner 2 back on Wii U was like one of my favorite rhythm games ever. And the series is back. I had no idea about it, but it just came out on PS5. And I watched a trailer of it. I'm like, oh man, this is pulling me right back into the Bit Trip Runner series. I need to play that game.
Yeah, I didn't know that was coming out either.
They did a
No.
terrible job marketing it. I love these games, and I had no idea it existed, that the sequel existed. So I gotta play it on PS5.
But a game that we do know about, and I know we've all been playing, is Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. Oh man, I you know I I have to admit I was going into this game with a little bit of fear.
Really?
Like,
It's perfectly in here.
Nice.
The fear wasn't like what my experience was going to be. My fear was going to be the general populace, the people that we've been yelling at about
Mhm.
the Thousand Year Door for 20 years. Is that game going to hold up for them? And it seems like, for the most part, yes, yes, it does.
That
Yeah,
was
oh, go ahead, Daniel.
that was such a fear because all these years we were saying like this is one of the greatest games that's ever been made, and then I imagine if people were playing in it and they were just like, yeah, it's okay. How deflated I would have been if people were
I
just
How
know.
like,
flattened.
eh, it's fine.
Nice, how flattened.
Like a piece of paper.
Your
I
heart would have been ripped straight out of your chest.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. No, it I mean, you're so right. I was thinking about that too, like, is this gonna land as much with today's players as much as it, did when we first played it, and we've been yelling about it all these years, and by and large, it seems to have. I'm sure there's someone out there who's like, "Oh, this game actually sucks," but we don't listen to those people. Someone out there doesn't like it, I'm sure, but I think it's great to see the positive reception, and it's such a it's I did semi recently play the original again, back at the old channel for the game club thing, and so it's a little bit fresher in my mind than I would prefer, but it's still one of my favorite games of all time. So I'm still having an amazing time going through it with these amazing new visuals. Like, oh my god, the 30 FPS doesn't even matter. This is such a beautiful game to look at, and the music. I mean, I could go on forever about the music. It's so good.
That's something
Yeah.
that's pretty consistently surprised me. Like, I knew the visuals looked good from trailers, from our own preview that we did, but nothing is quite like popping the game in yourself and seeing it firsthand. Because they go really hard on the visuals for this game. I think it was you that posted. It was either in our partner chat or it was a tweet about like the reflections in a crystal ball, and I experienced that myself, and
That's so
I
cool, right?
it's why did they go that far? I mean, it
Yeah.
looks amazing, but why and how?
Just
it's such a minor detail. They didn't need to do that, and yet they did.
everything about this, like I've stayed far away from any kind of trailers and all that reaction. Even the intro, I didn't look at anything. I didn't look at the intro until I was on stream. You could see all my reactions live on stream for the first 4 hours, and I was narrating the intro, and then it started animating. I'm like, what's happening? They're showing the whole town going under and then Rogueport being built. It was just static images in the original one, and it goes so
Right.
far beyond that. Like when you use your hammer to hit a spot where there's a star piece, it like flops a little bit. Like you don't need to go that far, make it look all floppy. You just have the little like where it just pops up a little bit, and that's it. And things like all the characters, they all animate. Like they all have little expressions. You see like the bandits or the Goombas have like smug looks on their face, like the one that was saying like, "Yeah, I'm a wanted Goomba. I got." And then you can see he has those expressions on his face, like he's all smug about it. Little things like that, and the fact that everything looks like it's made from paper craft or cardboard or something like something you can craft together. Like it wasn't really so much that in the original, but like you could just see the little bits and pieces and seams everywhere that this is completely remade, and there's just it's a paper world without being so like egregious about it like in some of the other titles that are that way. It just is what it is, and that's fine. It's not just like, oh hey, here's paper everything. It's hard to explain, but that's a sort of like magic I feel going through all this, and the lighting itself is just like it's incredible to look at this game, just to see and to watch all the stuff that I've known from way back then just change from that to the script changes. There's script changes, as we'll get into eventually, but one of the big script changes was also, did you notice Hooktail was not no longer the big gag for Thousand Year Door was that later in the game you have context and you find out that Hooktail's a girl, but
Right.
in the original they didn't say it. They said like, oh, he's destroying everything around Petalburg, but right off the bat they just recognize that Hooktail's a she. And so that's a little thing, but little script changes like that throughout the game are things that just I'm just curious to see what else there is
Even
going
Me
the
too.
forward.
way, like, even the way some scenes play out, like when you first meet Goombella and you go to Rogueport Square and
Yeah.
you're telling her who you are and everything, and then there's that mugging in the background between the
So
rivaling
good.
families.
Uh-huh.
In this game, in this version of the game, like they stop their conversation, look into the background, watch it happen, and then just keep talking.
They
Stay
notice
down,
it.
bro. I love that
But I was
so
like, I
much.
hate it here.
I thought it was a little interesting, and I'm not sure how I feel about this particular script adjustment, but that when you first meet Goombella, and she's being chased by the X-Nauts, and the way that conversation plays out is a little bit different than it was in the original. It's a little less raw, I guess. It's a little less edgy, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. Same thing with the three Goombas in the sewer. When you first go and you fight the Goomba trio, I don't know. I feel like the way they address Mario and Goombella is a little bit more. I don't know. mm, I don't want to say less edgy, but you know what I mean. It feels a little less raw, I guess, than it did in the original.
A little more clean.
Yeah, a little cleaner, and that's not what I want
I
from
think
this
it's fine
particular
as it
game
is.
because Rogueport specifically is not a clean place, but they didn't change anything else. So I'm not like really seriously complaining all that much, but I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember this particular conversation being a little bit less clean in the original, I guess."
I mean, there's still
Things like
gang
that.
violence. There's still a noose right in
Yeah,
the
that's
middle of
true.
town.
Yeah.
I'm fine with script changes. Like if that sort of thing is what they do to kind of, I mean, there's script changes all across the board everywhere.
Yeah.
Like I remember I mentioned early on, like Professor Frankly is the one that talks about, oh, this is where you the line that Goombella said about the Thousand Year Door and the Crystal Stars and all that was now what Professor Frankly says instead, and then she reacts in that in turn because obviously the professor would know more about this stuff than someone who's still studying it. Things like that. It's like some of the conversations around script changes, like the one with the Goombas, they got overblown. I don't care. I mean, it's
Mhm.
just these Goombas that are still trying to mug you underneath the sewers.
Yeah.
Like I don't know
Yeah.
what some people want with their remaining pure to the context, because maybe that's how it was in the Japanese one. Who knows? I don't know all the script changes from language to language, but that's one of the things that's just like it doesn't matter. I get the vibe and feel of like this is a dangerous place, so I think that's all
Right.
that matters.
Yeah, it's definitely not something I'm like, I'm not it's not a hill I'm gonna die on. I'm still having an amazing time. And everything else they've changed so far I'm loving, including one major thing, of course, that the internet's been talking about that we'll get to a little later. But overall, I'm just thrilled. And then something I noticed when I was playing the other night, one of my favorite features, and I completely forgot they did this in the Origami King too. It is when you're in a battle and the actual fight's playing out, you get the full battle theme. But then when you're in menus and making selections and stuff, they pull back a few of the layers of the music, so it's just kind of like the percussion and the bass line. And so it's like the music is dynamic during the battles, on top of each battle theme, or the battle theme having like a regional variant now for each area. Like they cooked so hard on this soundtrack. It's
This
crazy.
this game is constantly throwing new music at you, even more so than I recall in the original game. Like there are
Hmm.
moments that I don't remember having different music, and then different music will start playing, and it just
Yeah,
adds a lot to the experience.
moments
It
like
really does.
moments like when Coops is joining your party, or after you
Yeah,
save Petalburg, and there's like you're gonna lead the town. It's not Petalburg's song anymore. It's a different like, oh yay, everything's okay now kind of music. But that's not one that was there in the original. They've added a lot more mood and expressiveness to, yeah, not just the environment but the characters and the music as well. And there's just why did they go so hard? You go inside the Polly's little cafe and the Roadport's theme changes, and then it's just like you go into the item shop and it's even different from that as well. It's crazy.
I don't know how far either of you. Well, you're both through chapter one, right? Or
I'm still in the middle of chapter one, like toward the end.
I finished the little Peach segment and I'm just in
okay.
Petalburg now after chapter one. Yeah.
Do you mind if I bring up the fast travel system, or have either of you encountered it yet?
I have not. I don't mind personally, but I don't know how our audience feels.
Yeah, I just want to be
So,
sensitive to everyone.
do you
I don't
want
know
to?
if
Yeah.
you would count that as a spoiler or not, but
Where
I want to
where
talk about it because it's a nice change.
where are you, Brandon? What chapter are you on? Do I dare ask after 1 day or 2 days of knowing?
I'm embarrassed to tell you.
Did
I
you
don't
already
want to.
beat? You already beat the game.
Okay, I'm in chapter 6.
Oh my god!
I
Jeez,
am in.
man, you are just rolling
I
through this
thought
game.
you were a father.
Yeah, what?
She's watching.
Are you
That's
narr-
amazing.
Are you narrating while you're playing and doing all the funny voices for her?
I narrated quite a bit of chapter 5 for her because I love pirate voices.
Nice.
Um, but I wanted to mention the fast travel because it's quite a bit more change than I was anticipating. Like instead of spread across separate rooms, those warp pipes are now put in one room in a circle, the same way they are in Origami King. And those rooms that they were spread
Oh.
across just don't exist anymore. They're gone.
You mean
Really?
you mean like the rooms where there's two pipes and you go further and there's two more pipes, that little connection?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
They just deleted them entirely.
That's so
Uh,
cool.
and they added an extra pipe that goes from that room to the middle of Rogueport Square.
Oh,
Oh, that's big.
now you can
Yeah,
actually. Oh, yeah.
it saves a lot of time. And as I've been going through and doing troubles, I hmm, I've been really appreciating
Oh, I bet.
it.
It's like,
I'll be getting more into that, like, probably later tonight, and, like, getting more into the, meat of the game and starting to do some troubles and really feeling the impact of those changes.
don't ever say that the Origami King never gave us anything, Paper Mario fans, because there you go. That's the same concept right there.
It gave us great fast travel. It gave us incredible visuals, 360-degree hammer swinging.
I know, right?
Or
I thought it was like, the same number of directions you have on a GameCube controller. I'm gonna yank all my stuff off just to get a GameCube controller on screen. I thought it was like all of these angular positions, but you can see very minutely every individual direction that you make Mario swing his hammer. If you're like going straight forward, you can nudge it a little bit to the left. He's swinging it there, or lift to the right. And if you start moving around, he starts changing his position to like a back sprite. Everyone has back sprites. I never got excited for back sprites before.
Right?
This is the kind of stuff that someone like me gets excited about in a game like this.
you can
And
see
not
Goombella's ponytail.
Yeah. And not only do I've never understood the hate for the Origami King. I think it's actually pretty damn great. I don't love the battle system, but I still think it's pretty damn great. But without the Origami King, we wouldn't have the remade soundtrack in the way that we have it. that is directly inspired by the Origami King and how they had regional battle themes and such, and the dynamic music during battles. So I don't want to hear anyone say the Origami King never gave us anything good because it gave us a ton of good stuff.
Paper Mario walked so Thousand Year Door could run, so Super Paper Mario could sprint, so Sticker Star could trip, so Color Splash could start crawling, so Tears of the Kingdom, Origami King could start running, so
TOK.
Thousand Year Door could sprint again.
Yeah, that's really well said. I love that.
It's just,
I don't
so
know
it's
if it was
just
well said, but it was said.
so
Hey, I
this
think it was pretty
so this
strong.
whole series was just my life as a human being learning to walk and crawl. I'm in the fumblings part right now, but soon I hope I get to the status of Thousand Year Door remake again.
And I
Oh
think that
man.
the real question here, of course, going forward is depending on how, I mean, we obviously the reception has been very positive. Depending on how sales go, is this going to be informative for to Nintendo in terms of how they want to take this series in the future? Like, where do they want it to, are they going to bring it back into the RPG fold with turn-based combat again? Is that where they're going to go from this if the reception and the sales are strong enough?
I'm pretty convinced that that's what's going to happen. I
I
think
hope
this
so.
remake only exists because we're going back in that direction.
That's
Yeah, it
I
was
sure hope so. God, to have a brand new, fully original Paper Mario turn-based RPG again, the excitement is just thinking about that concept makes me want to explode out of my seat.
it was amazing to it didn't feel real to be in a position where we knew that Super Mario RPG remake was coming, and then before that even came out, a Thousand Year Door remake was coming. I was like, what is happening at Nintendo right now? So yeah,
Yeah,
we've gotten two remakes of the traditional RPG style turn-based battle gameplay, all the stuff that we like of like new original characters within these stories. Now we've gotten two of those. If we have two remakes, I think at this point they're gonna look at those sales and think, okay, from gauging what people's reception are of this, maybe people want more of this, and so they'll jump into an original title. I'm hoping they'll have an original Paper Mario title that goes beyond and it actually builds upon what the Thousand Year Door has done after all this time. I am hopeful that that is going to be our future one day on the Switch too.
So I'm pretty confident I've heard this that Thousand Year Door is running in Origami King's existing engine.
I believe so.
Like
Yeah,
I would not be upset if they just used it again and made a new game in it. Like,
Yeah,
it's already there. It looks great. Um just do it. Save the time.
yeah.
this is
God,
making me so happy that we jumped from. I love the first Paper Mario game as well. I know some people prefer that over the original. I kind of flip flop between those a lot, but I'm just really happy that we jumped to the Thousand Year Door and are at the place that we are now because they can kind of interchange. But I mean, me and Brandon have done a lot of mods in the last couple of weeks of Paper Mario,
Watch that
and
video.
yeah, and integrating the Thousand Year Door mechanics into the original Paper Mario just felt so natural. You know,
It makes it a better game.
it makes it so much
yeah.
better and difficulty options, that sort of thing. Amazing.
Um, yeah, I mean, obviously, we're all really enjoying the game so far. There's a lot of incredible changes. One of which, uh, being that the localization has officially made Vivian trans. We're here.
Yeah,
We've done it.
and
Gamers win.
I did not think that they. I was wondering if they would address that properly, and I had a feeling they would, but I didn't expect them to be as loud about it, and as just clear about it and full throated about it as they are and as they have been, and I'm could not be happier.
Yeah,
Justice
They
was done.
I
She literally stares into the camera and says it as plainly as she can say.
Yeah,
Um, it's I did not expect this to happen. I expected them to correct that
hmm
and make her trans, but like you said, I was not expecting them to just be so forthcoming and loud about it. It's kind of awesome.
it really is.
yeah,
NOA did a big W in this case, man. I could not be happier. Like I said,
I was really wondering what was going to happen because we saw that screenshot a while back where they changed the dialogue of "We are the three shadows, relation withheld" or something like that, and then they didn't.
Hmm.
There wasn't a clear
Right.
direction of where they were going to take that. It could have gone either way because that was kind of vague within its context, and we didn't know the rest of the conversation. But now it's like it was right there, plain as day. This is one of the things that I looked up before I played. I pretty much went on blackout, but this is one of the things that caught my eye because, yeah, it's true to the Japanese script, which I was something I was hoping for going into this because that was one of the hopes that I had was that there's a lot of dialogue in here that kind of is adjusted for 2004 was a different time for a lot of us, and so now that we're 20 years later, this is something that we can be a lot more open about and be like, yeah, this character is a trans character in a Mario game, and it's just it is what it is, and I'm just glad that we have that kind of visibility for that audience through a character as celebrated as Vivian, still one of my favorite characters in Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door as well.
Same. Yeah. It's
Honestly, long ago when I first played this game, and I didn't know that about Vivian, obviously because they took it out of the localization. Her character arc never quite made sense to me. Like it was
Hmm.
clear that she wasn't well liked and was bullied by her sisters, but there was never like a
My
reason
reason.
that really like struck home for me because they deleted that part of her story. Um, I I enjoyed that portion of her character in that chapter so much more, having that
Mhm.
context and built back into the story. Like I care about Vivian a lot more now that I understand
Yeah.
why she's the way she is. It's so much better.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to experiencing that part of the game myself with this new context properly re-added back, from the original script. I'm not there yet, of course, but I am very much looking forward to it.
I could go on about Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door forever. Honestly, we should probably
Same.
have a discussion about the game once
Yes.
everybody's wrapped up,
Yeah.
because I'd love to talk more. But there's some other stuff we should chat about. I want to get this one out of the way because it's kind of sad news, but it is worth mentioning. And that is the news that IGN has acquired Gamer Network sites, including Eurogamer, GamesIndustry.biz, Rock Paper Shotgun, and more. And we've already seen a bunch of layoffs in response to that happening. So I want to pour one out for everybody who has lost their jobs and is currently looking for more work. I sympathize with you. I have experienced that myself. It is not fun. Um, this sucks.
This
That's all I can say.
industry, yeah, I mean, I would pour one out and I will, but this is just water, but still, um, this industry has been fucking brutal for the past couple of years. I mean, it's always been competitive and tough to make it in games, but the last couple of years especially have just been awful. And my heart goes out to so many people who have not, whether it's developers or journalists, in the whole spectrum of people losing their jobs in gaming right now. It's just brutal and it makes no sense. It's just it's really hard to wrap your brain around how many people are actually being affected by these continued layoffs and studio closures and big corporate mergers. It feels like it's never ending.
Yeah, there are some that remain independent, like Digital Foundry, Hookshot. So, like our friends at Nintendo Life, for example, they're fine as they are as for the time being. But there's a lot here that, yeah, there's a great amount of people are affected by this, and it's like, when is this gonna stop? It's affecting like journalism industry as well. I thought this was. You would think that this is something contained within like the actual industry itself. Of there's layoffs, there's companies that are just taking out, gutting their most creative talents, as we've seen in the last few weeks, and it just doesn't seem like it's stopping anytime soon with any aspect of this business at this point.
It really seems to be encompassing entertainment as a whole as we go farther and farther along and more layoffs take place. And it's very frustrating to see, and that for a multitude of reasons. Like not only are the people who are experienced and have had several years, doing this stuff being laid off, but now you have new people fresh out of school, years out of school, who are trying to get jobs and they can't because they cannot compete with
Yeah.
all the people looking for work.
Yeah.
This sucks for everyone.
Yeah. I just
It's frustrating.
I just want there to be like one day where we can actually talk about something positive regarding the industry. I want some
Yeah.
good game industry news. Damn it. Like the game industry added 50,000 new jobs in this year. Like something like that for once. It's been so
Yeah.
long since we've had good news.
Again, I want to pour one out for everybody who lost their jobs. I hope
Yeah.
you land on your feet, get back in the business, start your own stuff. Like, you know what? For forget the middleman, forget the corporation, make your own business.
Band together and do
Um,
your own thing. That's what some of us are doing, honestly.
exactly.
Yeah.
uh,
Um, but that's it for bad news for now. But I'm sorry we had to talk about that because it's important.
It's a big deal.
it's
Yeah.
good to be aware of things like this because, I mean, we've been aware of it's just been one of the worst years we've had for industry in this past like 365 days. Just watching
Yeah.
all these amazing, talented people have to now find something else to do, find somewhere else that will take them in. And that's the scary thing is that anywhere that they go, is that place going to be uh stable in the next like year or so? Who knows at this point? And it's scary because we both know how it is, Brandon, looking for jobs and trying to find a place, and there's a lot of competition for every aspect at this point, and it's not easy for anyone, no matter how much experience you have. Sometimes it's crazy.
It's been a long search, my
Yeah.
friend.
Well, like, and
Uh,
we've been talking a little bit about the whole situation with Square Enix as well, and how they're undergoing a massive restructuring. There are a bunch of layoffs across Square Enix as well. And like when you think about the fact that Square can release two games as excellent as FF7 Rebirth and FF16 and have both of them underperform, necessitating such layoffs. The industry is changing so quickly and so rapidly and becoming something that I personally feel have been feeling lately that I hardly recognize. And it just makes no
mhm.
I mean, and we saw what happened with Tango Gameworks. They were shuttered right after releasing Hi-Fi Rush, one of the coolest, most critically acclaimed games of the past year and a half. It's just the industry is so weird right now, man, and I don't like it. I don't like the place it's in. Obviously, that's the preaching to the choir here, but
Yeah,
yeah,
Indies rise up. That's all I have to say about that, I think.
well said.
indies come to save the day. There was like a day in not too long ago where just a bunch of indies came out on the same day, and that felt like just a sigh of relief for for a lot of developers out there.
Felt like Christmas to me. I was like, look at all these great games
All
coming
these
out.
Yeah.
amazing. Uh,
Speaking of another great game that could be coming out, this is not confirmed, but it is expected. From Mario 64, we learned that a new Astro Bot game might be announced in the next 15 days,
Please.
which
oh
is
yeah.
nuts.
Please.
Astro Bot on PS5 is so good. Astro's
Mhm.
Playroom, fantastic game. I am so excited that wasn't just a drop in the bucket, that this is going to
Me
keep
too.
happening.
Astro's
Oh,
Playroom is a masterpiece. It is
it
a
is.
bona fide masterpiece, and all I wanted when I finished that game was a game like quadruple as long, just so I could keep playing it. Because oh my god, talk about some of the best haptics ever too. Some of the maybe the best haptics I've ever played in a game or felt in a game.
Still not topped, and that's
Yeah.
crazy because that was a launch title.
It's wild. Yeah, yeah, best pack-in game of all time. I guess unless, Tetris, but I don't know. I'd rather play Astro's Playroom than Tetris personally.
Super
Also,
Mario World's one of my favorite games of all time. Wii Sports also is very high up there. Astros got it. There's no competition as
Yeah,
far as I'm
it
concerned.
really is that good. And it also feels like it's the closest thing we have right now to the Sony of yesterday, like back when they were still making their wacky, Japan studio games, like when they were doing a little bit more creative stuff and not just doing the AAA gigantic releases like God of War and Horizon and Spider-Man. Like Astrobot kind of feels like the closest thing we have to that Sony of yesteryear, and I miss that era of Sony or that era of PlayStation, I should say.
yeah. Geez, that was and that's such a great title just to play as a PlayStation fan because there's so much fan service in there. There's like these little cute little scenes of the Astrobots playing out scenes from past like any kind of Sony game like God of War or Uncharted or Metal Gear Solid. Just name one. It's probably referenced in there somewhere.
Monster Hunter's in there, which is great for me.
You know,
Oh
yeah,
Uh,
I want to go replay Astro's Playroom now. not that I really have time, but I kind of want to go replay it now. It's
It's
so
such a
good.
short,
It is
bite-sized
so short.
experience that
Yeah.
anyone can jump in. They could take a few hours and just enjoy what they did with the PlayStation controller, the DualSense. It's such a underutilized controller in many games. Like when you have a game that understands the haptics, you get some really cool experiences from it. And Astro Bot's just the stellar example of that.
I can only hope that the new Astro Bot game, if it exists, uh, utilizes its haptics as well as Astro's Playroom. Because,
I
like you
hope
guys
so.
have said, there's not been a game that has even approached the levels that that game achieves with the haptics and the DualSense.
Yeah.
Um, in other news, this is kind of a silly one. We have learned, thanks to Sakurai's YouTube channel, that they didn't add Dolby surround sound to Kirby Air Ride because the logo required extra waiting time for the player.
And
Good.
what's really interesting about this is his actual quote on the tweet is, "If you take 1 second from each user, that means you'll be taking 10,000 seconds from 10,000 people. The more this repeats over the years, the more time you will cause players to lose." And that is such a Sakurai-ass thing to say, but he's also so right.
He is right.
My
Yeah.
He's
seconds.
yeah.
My precious
He
seconds over all the
right?
times you turn a game on. That's just a lot of it's cumulative, you know, because like it's
Yeah.
like dropping a few pennies in your bank every day. At the end of the year, you might have a lot more dollars than you might expect to have. It's just and then you multiply that with all the people that do that as well, and then all of a sudden you have enough money to put on a down payment and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
What's funniest about this to me is that I saw some tweets from people who were at whatever E3 this game was shown off at, and apparently they had a Dolby surround theater that they used to demo the game
That's
with
so
the
funny.
sound, and then they didn't have it in game.
That's actually hilarious. I wasn't aware of that.
Incredible.
Oh, it's so great. I love Sakurai. This is a weirdo Sakurai thing that I think is
Mhm.
perfect.
But
Never
also
change.
It's
and
so
also, I feel like the number of people who actually had a Dolby surround setup at the time Kirby Air Ride came out was probably tiny,
Yeah,
like
minuscule.
infinitesimally small. Yeah.
GameCube did some funny things back then. Like there were some games that supported widescreen. F-Zero GX supported widescreen. I didn't have a widescreen back then, but it sure did support it if you did have one at that point. And then yeah, as you said, Kirby Air Ride, Dolby surround sound. We're not that advanced out here. I didn't need it. I didn't care. Uh, it's just I'm really sensitive of the time that I use in my day to day now, and even just that little thing, like if I can, you know, cut corners and have some time saved that way, I'll go for it. And I think Sakurai gets it. He's one of the developers that is eccentric enough to actually go and do that sort of thing for the sake of making that statement.
Yeah, 'cause again, there have been so many times where I've mashed through all the, Unity and company and producer logos at the start of a game, but I've never really thought about it wasting my time. What's funny about that is that I am someone who is very acutely aware of when a game during the gameplay is wasting my time, but I never thought about that also being a waste of my time. So it's just really it's a very, very Sakurai-ass thing to say, as I said, but he's got a great point, and I didn't know this, but, Hendrix Trog offers the further context for this, was that Sakurai was criticizing arcade game collection for having too long of an intro when arcade games obviously went straight to the game, or went straight to the point back in the good
Mhm.
old days. So that's the further, context for that, but yeah, I mean, he's right.
Uh, all those years of watching all those ADX and Cryware screens.
I know,
How much time have I truly lost watching all those scroll every time I turn on a game? Too
Especially the
much,
um
ones you can't skip.
right?
right?
Speaking of Sakurai, this is just a quick aside. Did you guys watch the video of him showing off his collection and how it's all structured and
No.
organized oh, dude, if you want to have major just sheer jealousy, watch that video, man. I am so jealous of the way he has all of his games cataloged and categorized and it's so perfectly done. It's so good. He has like custom cabinets made and shelves made for like different game like platforms because obviously cartridges and discs are all different sizes. It's all custom. It's so cool. You got to watch it.
Sakurai is a man after my heart. I have a bank of his videos I need to watch. I usually watch
Same.
them in bulk every couple months. But that one I definitely need to see. Uh, we're running a little short on time, so we're gonna head into our patron topics, gang. And Ash, why don't we go ahead and start with you?
All right. So, my topic this week, and by the way, if you want to suggest topics just like the ones we're about to talk about right now, join us on Patreon, patreon.com/gvgaming. If you support us at the producer tier for just $10 bucks a month, you can suggest these topics too. So, with that said, for me, my topic this week comes from Chris Turlack, who says, "Hey, GVG crew, got a two-parter here. What's a licensed game you grew up loving, especially if it's a game that would normally be unremarkable, but the licensed property helps add to its identity? Also, if you could make a licensed game now, what would it be? For me, I grew up adoring The Simpsons Hit and Run and also enjoyed Yu-Gi-Oh! Capsule Monster Coliseum, a surprisingly fun strategy RPG. As for what game I'd want today, I think the anime Solo Leveling is tailor-made to have an RPG based on it. I mean, that name sounds like it would be. Yeah. So for me, this was all about Capcom and Konami growing up, right? So I mean, I won't even just name one. I love the Little Mermaid on NES. DuckTales is obviously a classic. The original Chip and Dale game on NES is great. But also some 16-bit games that I played to death, licensed games that I played to death as a kid were mainly the Konami ones. So like
Hmm.
Tiny Toon Adventures Buster Busts Loose on SNES.
Yes,
Love that game
that
so
game
much.
is so good.
It's so good. Buster's Hidden Treasure on Sega Genesis, also an excellent platformer. Goof Troop on Super NES, a great one. I mean, it's hard to believe today for people. Maybe it's hard for people today who didn't grow up with the Konami of yesteryear because Konami is such a shell of its former self today. But like, Konami was the place you went to for licensed games growing up, like in the 90s. Like that was they did them all so well. And same thing with Capcom and Disney. The Lion King on SNES and Genesis, another great one. So yeah, but if I had to pick a favorite, it's probably Buster Bust Loose. I What a damn good game that is.
That was actually going to be the one I picked, and you beat me to it.
Oh no.
You named
Funnily
like
enough,
every single game that I was gonna pick.
funnily enough, in our live audience chat, Mario Mamtest picked another game that I was going to say, being Scooby Doo Night of 100
Oh,
Frights.
hadn't played that.
That's a video I desperately want to make, and I'm
Hmm,
gonna hold myself to
I
still make
remember
that
it.
video for this Halloween. But outside of that, y'all know I love Dragon Ball. I grew up on the Dragon Ball Z Budokai games, Legacy of Goku 2,
Oh
Boost
yeah.
Fury on Game Boy Advance. Um, Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3 is probably the game I've put the most time into as a Dragon Ball fan. So obviously, we've got a new one coming out with Sparking Zero that I'm very excited for. But those probably are my most treasured memories. That and the Naruto Clash of Ninja series. Um,
Nice.
Great games.
You just bring up to mind for some reason I had for Game Boy Advance the Legacy of Goku, those games as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I still have the one of the ones I think Legacy of Goku 2 had like the little mini poster inside of it that they just jammed in there. I still have that just in there.
It did. It was on my wall as a kid in my childhood bedroom.
I never
Yeah,
played it,
man.
but I always heard the Astro Boy game for Game Boy Advance was really good. Omega Factor, I think it was called.
Hmm.
I heard it was great, but I never played it.
I never played
It
it
was made
For
by
either.
Treasure,
whatever
though.
reason, anime games on GBA hit.
They were
Yeah.
good. They got them. The Hamtaro
Um,
game, heck yeah.
Also,
I
I've been
think
called out. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Daniel.
of the ones that we haven't talked about yet, or haven't already been mentioned, which isn't a lot. One of the ones I played, my first beat 'em up was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time. That's one
Nice.
that I didn't even. I just kind of had it because my grandpa had a bunch of games for the Super Nintendo at that point, and that was one that I played. And sometimes my cousin would come over, and then we would both play that game together, and we try to get as far as we can. And I don't know, I probably beat it like once, maybe of all the times that we tried with help, because
Uh,
that game gets hard when you get to like the prehistoric times. That game gets rough.
oh, it
Um,
does. Prehistoric Turtlesaurus. Yeah, it
and
does.
then, aside that, the one I remember playing the most is the Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, the World of Illusion. I played that on Genesis so
Oh, that's
much way
a
back
really good one.
way back then. I don't know why I played that as much as I did. I guess I didn't really have much else on my Genesis aside from like a bunch of Sonic games and Vector Man. I don't know why it's that assortment, but that's just what it was. My grandpa would play like a casino game, Caesar's Palace specifically, but I had all the rest of the games in the library. And I remember that very fondly. I don't know. It's just you jump around different Disney worlds. Like I remember you're jumping in the you're fighting like the cards from Alice in Wonderland. Apparently, this is all before Kingdom Hearts was a thing. Bouncing the different Disney worlds as Mickey Mouse. Before he had a Keyblade, he had like a blanket, a little sheet that he would swing. And Donald had like the orange one, Mickey had
Right.
the blue one. That was really, I don't know why I remember this stuff, but yeah, that was when I played a lot of way back then when I had nothing else to play.
I'm so glad you said what I didn't because that Alpha Lion in our chat called me out and I deserve it. I don't know how I talked about Konami licensed games in the 90s and didn't bring up TMNT. Like basically every game that's in the Cowabunga collection other than the very first NES game is great and I played them all a ton of times growing up. I don't know why I didn't think of Ninja Turtles as big a
TMNT,
TMNT fan as I am.
it's part of your personality.
I know.
I'm
I don't know
ashamed.
how do I not mention TMNT of all Konami games, but Buster Bust Loose just stands out so much in my mind.
It's a great game. Put it on NSO. It'd be a weird thing to put on NSO,
Hell
but put it
yeah.
there because I want to play it.
There's some
The
weirder
uh, the,
ones, but
the Animaniacs games were also
True.
really good. They were completely different on SNES and Genesis, but they were both really good games.
I'll have to look into those.
Yeah.
My patron topic comes from Marathon Max asking, have you ever gotten a game as a gift you knew was a bad game, but you put on a brave face and still said thank you? If so, did you end up trying it? Well, I think this is a common story for a lot of people my age, because the way information was shared back then was not as easy as it is now. I remember it had to have been like 2007, 2008, maybe 2009. My dad was like, I saw this game at the store. It had like a guy and a dog on it. Do you want that game? And I was like, what the heck are you talking about,
is this the
Dad?
game?
He did not know what it was called, could only describe it by its box art. I have no idea what he was talking about. And he probably was going to pick it up because it was like $5 bargain bin or something. Love my dad, by the way. Just want to preface this in case he watches this and gets secondhand embarrassment because he bought me Up, the Disney
Oh,
Pixar
Oh, the
Up
one with
licensed
the
game,
dog.
the one with the dog, and
that's so funny.
it all clicked when he brought it home. I played it once. I played it with him. I was like, let's play it together. You went out of your way for this. So we played co-op for like an hour and a half, and then I never touched it again. It's
God,
a licensed game from the Wii era. You know what you're
it's
getting
just
into.
exactly
Oh
what
yeah.
it is. Yeah. Man, I'm not sure if I have a good example for this. I only can think of two, and they don't quite perfectly fit the question. My mom gave me a game once that I thought would be bad, but it turned out to be pretty decent. And it was Pitfall: The Mind Adventure for SNES. It's a pretty decent 16-bit platformer, really hard from what I remember. So I remember getting it thinking it was not going to be very good, and of course I was very gracious and thanked her. But then I played it and it was actually pretty decent. The only other one that I can think of, and I've kind of told versions of this story before on GVGcast, is that my friend, when I was like probably 9 or 8 or 9, I don't know, he for my birthday got me Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, and this was before I had gotten into Final Fantasy. I had never played an RPG in my life, and I remember thinking just for the box art, I don't know if this is going to be for me, but I was still very grateful. I played it, I hated it. I thought it was terrible because I had no context for what it actually was. And then I got into RPGs a few years later and came back to Mystic Quest with the proper context of it was supposed to be like a Final Fantasy USA easy type for crappy American gamers, and I was able to kind of reappreciate it in that context, even though it's not a particularly good game. So yeah, that's kind of like my sort of answer to that question.
Gotcha. Oh man. Yeah, it's weird because in the N64 era, that's when I think I received the most games as gifts, and I don't think I got one that missed. One of my relatives got me Banjo Kazooie. That's the reason I even have Banjo. I've ever tried it. But
Wow.
I was a big Mario person. I was like, why
Okay.
would I want to play this game with this bear? Oh, it's not Wahoo enough for me. And I played and I was like, oh my god, this is actually a really awesome game. After I tried it. And then same thing with F-Zero X. That is absolutely looking at the box, that is not a game that young Daniel
Oh,
would have picked up off the shelf. I'd be like, I have a racing game. It's called Mario Kart, uncle. And then I played and I was like, this is actually kind of amazing. It went so fast. So that's kind of how I got into certain titles that way. A bad one though, funny enough, like my relatives knew what I would like apparently, but my dad probably didn't remember too much.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, what was it called? There was this marble game on the PS2. You played as a marble, and
Hmm.
it starts with an M. Oh my god, what is it called?
Marble Madness?
It's not Marble Madness. It's like a really short name. It's like a two-syllable name. It was really what was it called? Not Monkey Ball. I would have remembered that. That's a really good game. This one was not. Uh
Mojo?
oh, it's called Mojo. That
Mojo.
was
Okay.
my dad got me Mojo one
That's
time,
so funny.
and I tried it, and I was like, "Yep, I am a marble." It's just in this little.
I am a marble.
I don't know how to describe. If you look at the screenshots, that's exactly what it is. If you look it up, you're a marble in these little, like, I guess puzzle enclosed areas where you have to get around these blocks. It was like, yeah, that's one that I remember putting away swiftly and going back to play Tales of the Abyss on the PS2.
You know what?
That's
Like,
funny.
bless our families' hearts for trying,
Oh,
because
definitely.
Yeah,
it's so. Oh yeah, I
I'm
know.
not
It's just
ungrateful.
it's kind of endearing looking at these, quite frankly, sometimes awful games that they got us just because it. This was hard to do research on, like I said, because there was internet was still young, and GameStop employees just maybe weren't trying that hard. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, bless the families. They do what they can, and they mean the ones that they do give us sometimes they you never know. You might get a really good one that you never would have thought of playing way back then. Like for me with some N64 games, so I'm really thankful when they gift anything. Honestly,
That
I
was me
just
with Ty the Tasmanian Tiger too. It's
Oh,
kind of a
nice.
middle of the road third person 3D platformer,
hmm.
but I was the right age for that game. Like, and my grandpa got it for me. Probably didn't know at all what he was looking at, but he hit.
I
He hit with that one.
That's a good one. I just
Heck
had a
yeah.
memory resurface. I used to have a very toxic friend who is no longer my friend for that exact reason, as a kid, and he got me, as a joke, as just to, like, as a trying to make fun of me type of thing. He got me Rhapsody, a musical adventure for the PS1. He's like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna love this. It's where you play a princess who has to go save her prince." And jokes on him because it was actually a great game. It's a tactical RPG with great music, and it's anime as hell. And the joke's on him because the joke backfired because it was actually a cool game. Yeah, but it wasn't a bad game. So again, not quite the focus of the question. But yeah, I forgot about Rhapsody. That's a cool game.
What about your patron topic, Daniel? What do
My
you got for us?
topic is very much one that hits close to home, and you'll see why. It's from Wataniac saying, just in case you guys didn't already discuss this on the show, with the news of Nintendo opening a store in California, that's being the San Francisco one, what kind of merch would you want them to carry or feature for you like for it to have? Perhaps some neat stuff from Nintendo World New York, or the not oft mentioned Nintendo.com store, or something else unique. Yeah, this dropped very recently. The fact that we're gonna have a Nintendo World Store in San Francisco, um, it's too close to me. I'm gonna spend too much money at this place. I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself. This is
Dang, now I just have another reason to visit you.
Oh no, you
Dang.
come by and then if it's not even that far from the Ike's, so we'll go get a sandwich and then we'll go to Nintendo World Store.
Sounds like a great day to me.
You're all invited. Please come in
I
daylight.
Let's go, man. I was originally. I'm glad you led your Nintendo World story, talking about the fact that it was a Mother's Day trip with you and your mom. Because I was like, this man literally came to my backyard. He came to Los Angeles and didn't tell me and didn't want to hang out with me. But of
I
course, it makes
mentioned it in partner chat. I
did.
thought I
Oh,
did.
okay, I must have missed it. Then that might be my fault. But you were with your mom. That's different. I don't want to. That's
Yeah,
your Mother's Day stuff.
we were just hanging out.
But
That's the thing. Like I was at that store and I was like, is this I wonder how similar this is to the Nintendo World Store because obviously Nintendo the place in Super Nintendo World, it's just all Mario. It's only Mario, all day Mario. So thinking of
mhm,
that kind of stuff being at the Nintendo World Store and how they expand upon that, like in New York. I've never been to the one in New York, mind you. I wish I could, but
it's cool.
it's a bit out of the my neighborhood for me right now. But yeah, I have gotten some things from there from friends. The Nintendo World Store had the Fire Emblem plushies available, like the one with Marth, Roy, Ike, Lucina, and
Oh, right.
Corrin. I think there were more after that with Three Houses characters. I don't know if they're still available so openly there, but it'd be nice to have a place where you can get them just like at the store and not just buy them off of potential third party people that make it 3 times the price that it should be. But yeah, I am hoping to see just a wide variety of different things over there. I'm not certain what exactly I would want to see. There's certain products that we've gotten uh, that other territories have gotten as part of like special bundles or other things and stuff that you can't get here because we haven't pre-ordered them. Special editions over that'd be cool actually if they had like special editions available there, like the Fire Emblem Engage one, the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 one.
Yeah.
That would be really cool if they were just there. That'd be awesome. Limited edition stuff. I'm really a big fan of that sort of thing. But I know Brandon has some stuff he wishes were at these stores. What can you tell me?
So I've been scrolling on Twitter today, and I love our European creator friends, and they all keep getting this cool Paper Mario battle stage diorama that I want so
It's so
bad.
cool.
It's so amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my
Oh, I would
gosh.
love to have that on my shelf. But yep, it was only UK that got it for as a pre-order bonus. So it'd be cool, like if they sold some of that region locked like pre-order stuff at the store, because there's probably a lot of Japanese stuff as well. Just like you can go to a store in Japan and probably just see Nintendo stuff on the shelf, which is not something that you're going to do here necessarily.
Mhm.
So some smaller stuff like that would be cool too. Just everyday Nintendo branded merch would just be nice to have.
Look at this thing. I just posted in chat. It's so cool, man. I want it.
Got an
I want it so
audience.
bad. It got the audience and everything. Yeah.
Just like
Oh,
Swappable monsters.
just make this myself at this point.
so cool.
Make one for me too, please.
This would require Nintendo to make these at all for them to be available at the store. But as we all know, Nintendo is very bad about preserving their soundtracks in ways that people can buy officially. And I would love it if they just started a whole line of vinyls, man. Let me buy
Oh
every
yeah.
single Nintendo soundtrack on vinyl, all of them, every series. I don't care, but I want an official Nintendo line of vinyl soundtracks. That's what I would want more than anything.
I've got the Super
Yeah.
Mario Brothers the movie soundtrack on
Yeah,
vinyl,
nice.
and I would love to have just a collection of Nintendo soundtracks. I have that, and I have the Final Fantasy VII remake vinyl set,
That I didn't
which
get. Oh, I
Oh, it's
want it.
awesome.
I got it at the concert tour they did a couple years ago.
Oh, I
Oh,
don't know why I didn't buy it there. Maybe
wow.
I think they were out of it actually. I think by the time I got to the front, they were out because I do remember
Oh,
trying to get it and they were out. Yeah, and
oh, that
it was also
sucks.
probably really expensive, right?
It was not cheap,
Yeah,
but I was a simple man
yeah.
with a simple need.
Well, hopefully, I am going to the FF7 Rebirth concert in LA coming up in August, I think, and hopefully they'll have a Rebirth vinyl there for me to buy so I can correct my mistake previously. Because I do want that on vinyl, and I'm sure it'll be quite expensive given how large that soundtrack is, but
A
worth it.
lot of
Worth every
songs.
penny.
Yeah, man. Well,
Worth every penny.
that's pretty much what I got for that question.
All right, gang. I think that's gonna basically wrap it up for us for GVG Cast episode 104. We want to thank you guys all for watching, especially everybody hanging out in the live audience chat, part of our Patreon. Um,
Really
sorry,
quick.
just had a
It's
brain
okay.
fart. Go ahead.
No worries. Really quick. We do have a couple of quick patron birthday shout outs. So we have a
Oh
couple
yeah,
of
yeah.
upcoming patron birthdays. Happy almost birthday to VMN on Tuesday, the 28th next week. And also happy almost birthday to Lin Senpai, who's celebrating their birthday on Wednesday, the 29th. So
Happy birthday.
enjoy your birthdays next week. I hope they are both wonderful days for you.
Yeah, very happy birthday to you all. But we need to send a special shout out to our producers. Daniel, I think you've got that at the ready.
They've already gone through. We're ready for the extra special shout out for our executive producers. And that includes the wonderful and amazing Brandon Bovia, Judy Caitlin, Fangs, Z Patty, Sky Blue Flames, Eastman23, Adam O'Sullivan, Richard Herrera, Logan Daniel, The D-Pad, Blake, Joy Content, Angel Martinez, Vidron, Joshua Hunter, Benny Yao. Oh, hold on. Got all mixed
They
up
need to
here.
take over.
Azran127, Black King, Joseph Rudkin, Geeky Griffin, Lucky Wonderfish, Wataniac, Top Dog 23100, Young Ben Kenobi, The Couch Kids, Andrew Medeiros, Darchi, Becca, Ikaro, Dark B Andy, Esax08, Michael McCaw, Matthew Wong, Goron Amber, Too Much Spaghetti, Bane 400, Ascaron 809, Ryoner, Rain and Clouds, The Game Orb, Super Gamer Dude 101, Mercury, Ravelox, Rosa Pardo Bowling.
Hi,
Sorry.
Steve's mom.
Hi, Steve Mom.
Hi, Steve Mom.
Dark Steel 01, Jason Uloa, Jaden Buck, Sixig Warrior 29, DJ Jurassic, Super Dank Awesome Unicorn Guy, The Reek, Colin, Blaze Star 25, Twilord, Mumbling Yeti, Cameron Sharp, Heel, Brandon Hesse, Hustlebun, Noah Fitterer, Calvin Atkinson, Brainchild, the entire state of Wisconsin, Jim Wakeland, Z Laker, Aramis Baramis, Kyle the Monarch, Dad Alpha Lion, Lord Metarex, Blaze Collard, Eric, Cat Evie Person 5, Peyton Thiel, Mega Beatman True Blue Reviews, Ryan Hanley, The Game Jamie, and finally, Zombie Joe. Thank you all so much. I made it.
You did it. Thank you guys so much for watching.
Thank
We'll
you
see
very
you next
much.
week for episode 105 of the GVG Cast. And look out for us to maybe discuss Paper Mario soon once everybody's caught up.
Sorry,
Yeah.
one thing really quick. I'm so sorry, Brandon. That was an old list, and Marathon Max did not get their shout out. So shout out to you as well, Marathon Max. Thank you for being an EP.
All right, gang. We will see you next week. Keep the games good and the vibes greater. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Till we meet again.